Stop. Don't sign it.
Waitress stops $47 billion deal with one shout. Hidden contract. Fraud exposed by a service worker. The wine spill that unmasked corporate betrayal. From humiliation to CEO, her manila folder held the truth. Stop. Don't sign it. The sudden shout came from the young black woman serving the wine. Her voice cut through the silent, expensive atmosphere of the Billionaire's exclusive conference room. Every single head in the room snapped toward her. The billionaire froze, his pen hovering just inches from signing a document. Her hands were visibly shaking as she pointed to the thick contract binders on the mahogany table. The next words she spoke caused a shocked, collective gasp. She reached into the pocket of her emerald green uniform and pulled out a thin, worn manila folder. The billionaire's platinum pen clattered onto the table, and a monumental $47 billion deal suddenly hung completely in the balance. The digital alarm blared at 4:30 a.m. in the penthouse suite overlooking Central Park. Marcus Sterling rolled over in his large, king-sized bed. Expensive Egyptian cotton sheets tangled around his lean, powerful body. At 45, his distinguished silver hair caught the early morning light. His sharp, clear blue eyes focused immediately on the momentous day ahead. Today was the day everything would change. The massive $47 billion merger with Grand Peak Holdings would instantly make Sterling Ventures the largest technology corporation on the East Coast. He had worked tirelessly for 20 years, driven by the memory of poverty, for this exact moment. Marcus stepped into his luxurious marble bathroom. The mirror reflected a man who had never accepted failure. His custom-tailored navy suit hung ready in his closet. He had come from nothing, a dusty trailer park in rural Kentucky, but no one would ever know that now. "Mr. Sterling," his assistant's voice came through the intercom. "The car will be ready in 15 minutes. Tell Alara I want those final contracts reviewed one last time," Marcus called back, adjusting his platinum cufflinks. "No mistakes today." His black Maybach sped toward Le Fleur, the highly exclusive French restaurant where the signing would take place. Marcus's fingers tapped nervously against his leather briefcase. Inside were the documents that would reshape his entire empire. His phone buzzed. It was Alara Vance, his chief strategist and business partner. Her text simply read, "All systems green." Grand Peak CEO signed off at 7 a.m. "We are about to be very, very rich." Marcus smiled. He had trusted Alara's judgment for 8 years. She was brilliant, absolutely ruthless, and completely loyal. Together, they were a commercial force that seemed unstoppable. 27 miles away, in Queens, Jasmine Hayes was woken up by her 10-year-old son, Leo. "Mama, you gotta get up," Leo said, shaking her shoulder gently. "Big day at the fancy restaurant, remember?" Jasmine opened her warm brown eyes, instantly alert despite only 4 hours of sleep. She had worked a difficult double shift yesterday. Today was a catering job at Le Fleur, Manhattan's most expensive venue. The pay for this one event would cover Leo's school supplies and, hopefully, the deposit for a better apartment. She pulled her thick natural curls back and studied her reflection in the cracked bathroom mirror. At 32, exhaustion showed around her eyes, but she held her posture straight. She had learned that dignity was a choice no one could take away. "Are you eating breakfast, baby?" she called out to Leo, pulling on her bright emerald uniform dress. "Cereal is fine, Mama." Leo appeared in the doorway with his backpack. "You think today is going to be different?" Jasmine paused. She held an MBA from Columbia University, earned on scholarships before Leo was born. But life had been unkind. "Every day is different, sweetheart," she said. "The question is whether we notice the opportunities." She grabbed her purse. Tucked inside, between her wallet and Leo's school forms, was the thin manila folder she never spoke about. Some secrets, she knew, were too dangerous to share. The subway ride took 45 minutes. Jasmine used the time to review the catering schedule, the usual instructions. Be invisible, be perfect, and absolutely do not make eye contact. She had mastered the art of invisibility over 5 years. Rich people rarely saw service staff as human beings. It was safer that way. But today felt different. The manila folder seemed heavier, and a knot in her stomach told her that sometimes being invisible simply wasn't enough. LaFleur's private dining room shone under crystal chandeliers. Ms. Albright, the floor manager, directed the staff. "Jasmine, you'll be handling the wine service," Ms. Albright instructed. "The Chateau Margaux 2000. Be extremely careful. One bottle is worth more than most people earn in 6 months." Jasmine nodded. She knew the weight of liquid gold. The Sterling Ventures team arrived at 11:30 a.m. sharp. Marcus Sterling entered first, his presence commanding the room. Elara Vance followed, her red suit sharp and precise. Marcus's confident laugh boomed across the room as he greeted the Grand Peak representatives. "Gentlemen, today we truly make history." Jasmine watched from the service station, noting the details. Marcus's posture, Elara's sharp confidence. But she also noticed the slight nervous tremor in Marcus's left hand. Confidence and deep anxiety danced together in his movements. "Wine service in 10 minutes, Ms. Albright whispered. "Remember, these people can destroy careers with a single complaint." Jasmine moved toward the wine station. The Chateau Margaux waited. She had no idea that in less than an hour she would stand between Marcus Sterling and catastrophic financial ruin. The dining room buzzed with the energy of imminent triumph. Marcus stood at the head of the table. "Elara, brilliant work on the subsidiary clauses," Marcus said. "Grand Peak never saw it coming." Elara smiled. "Sometimes the best deals are made when the other party believes they're winning." She opened her portfolio, revealing the thick contract binders. "Everything is exactly as we discussed. Sign these, and Sterling Ventures becomes the undisputed leader in tech acquisitions." Jasmine moved silently, checking water glasses. The manila folder in her purse pulsed with warning. "Ladies and gentlemen," Marcus announced, raising his glass. "To the future of American technology innovation." Jasmine retrieved the wine. The 2000 vintage felt heavy. Her palms trembled slightly. She approached Marcus's chair. "Your wine, sir." Marcus didn't acknowledge her, continuing his conversation with the Grand Peak CEO about market projections. $47 billion doesn't just buy companies, Marcus was saying. It purchases destiny. His elbow moved suddenly, an expansive gesture about revolutionary technology. The motion caught Jasmine off guard. Her grip on the bottle shifted slightly, and disaster struck. The wine splashed across the white tablecloth, deep red spreading quickly. Drops hit the contracts. More importantly, several drops landed squarely on Marcus's pristine white shirt and silver tie. The room fell into a jarring silence. "Jesus Christ!" Marcus's voice cut through the quiet. He stood slowly, staring down at his ruined shirt. "Are you absolutely kidding me?" Jasmine set the bottle down immediately, reaching for her service towel. "Sir, I am so sorry. Please, let me clean." "Don't!" Marcus's hand shot up, stopping her. "Don't touch anything else." His blue eyes blazed with rage. "Do you have any idea what you just did?" "Sir, it was an accident. Your elbow—" "My elbow?" Marcus shouted. "You're blaming me for your gross incompetence?" The room watched uncomfortably. Elara Vance's lips pressed into a thin line. Marcus stepped closer to Jasmine, his voice dropping to a harsh whisper. "Do you know how much that wine costs? $24,000 a bottle, more than you make in your entire worthless career, I'd bet." Jasmine felt the familiar burn of humiliation. She had endured this cruelty before, but today something was different. The dangerous contents of the manila folder flashed through her mind. "Sir, I apologize for the accident," she said quietly, maintaining eye contact. "I will pay for the dry cleaning, and the restaurant will replace the wine." Marcus laughed, a bitter sound. "Replace it, lady? You couldn't afford to replace the cork." He gestured dismissively. "Just get out of here. Have them send someone competent to clean up your mess." Jasmine nodded, beginning to turn away. Then she stopped. The contracts lay spread across the table. Her eyes caught something critical. The small print subsidiary acquisition list attached to the main document. Grand Peak was selling far more than Marcus realized. "Sir?" Her voice was barely a whisper. "What now?" Marcus snapped. Jasmine looked at Elara Vance, then back at Marcus. "You shouldn't sign those contracts." The room went dead quiet. Marcus stared at her in disbelief. "I'm sorry," he said. "What exactly did you just say?" "The contracts," Jasmine repeated, her voice stronger. "You shouldn't sign them, not the way they are written." Elara Vance stood up slowly, her smile icy. Marcus, security should remove this person. She's clearly having a breakdown. But Marcus held up a hand. No, I want to hear this. His voice carried cold amusement. You, a waitress who just destroyed a $24,000 bottle of wine, are giving me business advice. I'm not giving advice, Jasmine said carefully. I'm giving you a warning. About what exactly? The subsidiary list, she said quietly. Grand Peak isn't just selling you their tech companies. They are including their entire liability holdings, every lawsuit, every environmental cleanup, every regulatory violation from the last 15 years. It's all buried in Section 12 of the third addendum. The color drained from Marcus's face. He grabbed the contracts, flipping through pages frantically. That's impossible. Alara reviewed... I reviewed everything, Alara interrupted, her voice sharp with panic. This woman is trying to sabotage our deal. But Marcus wasn't listening. He was staring at Section 12, scanning the legal language. Holy, he whispered. The subsidiary holdings included companies facing massive environmental lawsuits and federal investigation for patent theft. The potential liabilities exceeded $8 billion. How could you possibly know this? Marcus looked up at Jasmine, his anger replaced by profound confusion. Jasmine reached into her purse and slowly withdrew the manila folder. I know because I worked for Grand Peak Holdings, she said quietly. 3 years ago, I was their Director of Acquisitions Compliance. I personally wrote the internal risk reports on those specific companies. I know exactly what they are trying to hide. The folder landed on the table. Inside were photocopied internal documents and financial reports detailing Grand Peak's deception. You worked for Grand Peak? Marcus asked, trembling. Until I discovered they were systematically hiding environmental liabilities from potential buyers, Jasmine confirmed. I reported it to the SEC. Grand Peak buried the investigation, destroyed my professional career, and terminated my employment. I've been working restaurant jobs ever since, waiting for a chance to make this right. Alara's face was pale. Marcus, this is some sort of elaborate setup. No, Marcus said slowly, studying the documents. These reports are legitimate. Grand Peak was trying to dump $8 billion in liabilities onto us. He looked up at Jasmine with something approaching awe. You've been carrying this around for 3 years? Someone needed to know the truth, Jasmine said simply. I just never imagined it would be you. The woman Marcus had just humiliated, whose salary he had mocked, had potentially saved him from financial catastrophe. The person he had dismissed as worthless had proven herself more valuable than his most trusted advisors. Marcus set the contracts aside. David, cancel the signing immediately. We need a complete audit of these subsidiary holdings. He looked at Jasmine. What's your name? Jasmine Hayes. Jasmine Hayes. He repeated it slowly. I owe you more than an apology. Marcus, you are making a terrible mistake, Alara insisted. Don't let this woman manipulate you. Marcus looked at Alara Vance, his eyes hard. Alara, I think we need to have a serious talk. The conference room felt small and tense. Marcus sat across from Alara Vance, the canceled contracts between them. 8 years, Alara. Marcus's voice was quiet. Tell me you didn't know about those subsidiary liabilities. Alara's posture was defensive. Marcus, you are letting one woman's documents destroy everything we've worked for. How do you know she didn't forge those reports? Because I spent the last hour on the phone with my forensic accounting team, Marcus countered. The reports are legitimate. Grand Peak was trying to dump $8 billion in liabilities onto us. So we dodged a bullet, Alara argued. We should be celebrating, not questioning my judgment. Your judgment? Marcus showed her his laptop screen, filled with bank records of complex wire transfers from offshore accounts. 3 payments of $2 million each, deposited into accounts tied to your personal holding company, all from Grand Peak subsidiaries. Ilara's face went pale. Those are consulting fees for preliminary merger work, perfectly legal. Consulting fees paid before we even announced our interest in acquiring Grand Peak. Marcus's voice hardened. Consulting fees that coincidentally match the exact amount Grand Peak would have saved by not disclosing their liability issues. Alara stood up abruptly. I don't have to listen to these paranoid accusations. You're choosing to believe some desperate waitress over your own business partner. Her name is Jasmine Hayes, Marcus said quietly, and she just saved me from the biggest mistake of my career, something my most trusted advisor was apparently trying to help me make. Ilara's mask finally slipped, revealing cold fury. You want to know the absolute truth? Fine, yes. Grand Peak approached me 6 months ago. They offered me a partnership in their new venture if I could facilitate this merger without full disclosure. She paused, her eyes challenging him. But it wasn't about the money, Marcus. It was about proving I could build an empire entirely on my own. My shadow? Ilara, we were partners. Equals. Equals, Ilara shouted. I did all the work while you took all the credit. I negotiated the deals while you played the charming CEO for the media. I built this company's reputation while everyone called it Marcus Sterling's empire. When was the last time anyone mentioned Ilara Vance in a business article about Sterling Ventures? The truth of her words stung Marcus. He had become the public face of the company, the celebrity CEO. Ilara had worked behind the scenes, and he had never considered her deep resentment. You could have talked to me, Marcus said. Talked to you? Ilara gathered her belongings. Like you talked to that waitress before humiliating her? You don't see people, Marcus. You see functions. I was your function for 8 years, and the moment someone more useful appeared, you discarded me. I didn't discard you. I'm trying to understand why you would betray everything we built. Betray? Ilara paused at the door. I was trying to secure my future because I finally realized you would never willingly share yours. The Grand Peak deal would have made us both richer. The liabilities would have been manageable. $8 billion in cleanup and lawsuits is not manageable, Ilara. It would have destroyed us. Maybe, Ilara shrugged. We'll never know now, thanks entirely to your new advisor. She left without another word. Marcus stood alone in the wreckage. His phone buzzed. A text from security confirmed Ilara had cleared out her office, taking files with her. Let her go. Change all access codes immediately. Meanwhile, 20 floors below, Jasmine sat in the staff break room. Miss Albright appeared. Jasmine, Mr. Sterling is asking to speak with you. Am I fired? Jasmine's stomach twisted. I have no idea, Ms. Albright admitted. But he specifically requested you join him in the conference room alone. Jasmine entered the conference room. Marcus sat at the far end of the table, his expensive tie loosened. He looked up, and she saw genuine vulnerability in his eyes. Please sit down, Marcus invited. I owe you more than an apology. Jasmine remained standing. If this is about the wine, I already said I'd pay for it. It's not about the wine, Marcus said. It's about everything else. The way I spoke to you, the assumptions I made, the casual cruelty. There is no excuse for it. People like you don't usually apologize to people like me. Marcus flinched. What kind of person am I? Exactly. You're someone who measures human worth by bank account balances, she said quietly. Someone who thinks service workers are invisible until they spill wine on your shirt. Someone who built an empire but forgot the cost. And what is the cost? Your humanity, Jasmine's voice was steady. You cannot treat people like disposable objects for years without losing pieces of your soul. Marcus was silent for a long moment. Ilara said something similar. She said, I don't see people, just functions. She's not wrong. Jasmine finally sat down. But she's also not blameless. Taking bribes to hide corporate fraud isn't fighting for recognition. It's just greed. You heard our conversation? Sound travels in buildings like this, Jasmine confirmed. She was using you, Mr. Sterling, but you were using her too. The question is, what do you do now that you know? Marcus leaned forward. What would you do? Jasmine thought of Leo. I would remember that every person you meet is fighting battles you know nothing about. I would remember that dignity is not something you earn with money. It's something you are born with, and something you can choose to respect in others. Marcus nodded. And professionally, about the company? Professionally, Jasmine smiled slightly. I would hire better advisors, people who care more about your success than their own gain, people who understand that real power comes from lifting others up. People like you. The question hung in the air. Mr. Sterling, I'm a waitress with a 5-year gap in my corporate resume and a son who needs stability. I am not exactly executive material anymore. But you used to be, Marcus countered, checking his phone. MBA from Columbia, summa cum laude, 3 years as Director of Acquisitions Compliance at Grand Peak, whistleblower status with the SEC, exemplary performance reviews until you were terminated. Jasmine felt her chest tighten. They destroyed my references. No legitimate company would hire me in that field. I would. The words were simple, direct, and completely unexpected. Why? She asked quietly. Because you saved me $8 billion today. Because you told me the truth when it would have been safer to stay silent. He paused, his voice softening. Because I need someone who sees me as a person, not just a bank account. Someone who isn't afraid to tell me when I'm making a mistake. What kind of position? Chief Compliance Officer, Marcus said. Full benefits, a generous signing bonus, and a salary that truly reflects your actual worth. He named a figure that made Jasmine's breath catch. I need some time to think about this, Jasmine said. Marcus nodded. Take all the time you need. He stood and extended his hand. Jasmine, thank you. For everything. She shook his hand, feeling an unexpected connection. For the first time in 3 years, she felt hope. 3 days later, Jasmine Hayes stood in the lobby of the federal building in Manhattan, clutching a subpoena. She was there to meet with Detective Frank Chen regarding the fraud investigation. Marcus Sterling was already in the small conference room. He looked up when she entered, and their eyes met, an acknowledgement of their strange shared situation. Ms. Hayes, Detective Chen said, we're investigating potential securities fraud related to the Grand Peak merger attempt. Both of your statements are absolutely crucial to our case. For the next hour, Jasmine detailed her discoveries at Grand Peak, how subsidiaries were used to hide toxic waste cleanup costs, and how legal issues were concealed. Marcus listened intently. Mr. Sterling, Detective Chen continued, you nearly signed contracts that would have transferred $8 billion in hidden liabilities to your company. We need to understand Ilara Vance's role. Ilara reviewed those contracts personally. She assured me there were no hidden liabilities, Marcus said, his jaw tight. I trusted her judgment completely. Marcus showed the detective the bank records of the $6 million in payments from Grand Peak subsidiaries routed through Ilara's offshore accounts. This strongly suggests coordination between Ms. Vance and Grand Peak to facilitate a fraudulent merger, Detective Chen noted. But Ilara Vance has vanished. Her apartment is empty, her phone disconnected, and with her went crucial evidence. What kind of evidence? Jasmine asked. The original contracts she reviewed, her correspondence with Grand Peak, financial records. We need more to build our case against the broader conspiracy. What are you asking us to do? Jasmine asked. We need you to work together, Detective Chen said simply. Ms. Hayes, your knowledge of Grand Peak's internal structure is invaluable. Mr. Sterling, your resources could help us trace the money trail. Both of you have compelling reasons to want Ilara Vance brought to justice. Marcus and Jasmine exchanged glances. 3 days ago, he'd humiliated her. Now they were partners in a federal investigation. I want to accept your job offer, Jasmine told Marcus when Detective Chen stepped out. But not like this, not because we're forced to. Then why? Marcus asked. Because 3 days ago, you showed me who you really are, the cruel, dismissive man, Jasmine said honestly. But then you also showed me who you could become, the man who apologized without making excuses. I think you're both. I want to work for the man you could become. My job offer stands, Marcus affirmed. Whatever happens with Ilara and Grand Peak, Sterling Ventures needs someone like you, someone who makes me want to be better than I am. Detective Chen returned with FBI Special Agent Maria Reyes. We've been authorized to move forward. This will require both of you to work out of our secure facility downtown, together. This investigation will succeed or fail based entirely on your ability to collaborate effectively, Agent Reyes stated. It's our best hope of taking down this entire network. 2 weeks into the investigation, in the FBI conference room, Marcus and Jasmine reviewed financial records. This doesn't make sense, Marcus muttered. Ilara received payments from Grand Peak subsidiaries 8 months ago, but these transactions show contact between them dating back 3 years. 3 years ago was exactly when I first reported the environmental liabilities to Grand Peak's board, Jasmine realized. Maybe Ilara's involvement goes back much further. Agent Maria Reyes entered, looking grim. I need to show you both something. She displayed a photo of Alara Vance shaking hands with a man. This was taken 18 months ago. The man is Victor Jensen, Grand Peak's former director of regulatory compliance. Victor Jensen was my direct supervisor, Jasmine said quietly, her face paling. He's the one who officially fired me for reporting the liability issues. Agent Reyes clicked to the next slide, showing bank records. Victor Jensen received $2 million from Alara Vance's holding company 6 months after Ms. Hayes was terminated. He sold my research, Jasmine whispered. Victor sold my compliance reports to Alara. We believe Alara Vance has been meticulously planning this merger manipulation for over 2 years, Agent Reyes confirmed. She used your termination as an opportunity to acquire crucial information about Grand Peak's vulnerabilities. Alara knew about Jasmine before the restaurant, Marcus said, his voice tight. She knew about the environmental liabilities, knew about the whistleblower reports. She orchestrated the entire merger attempt, knowing it would ultimately fail, Jasmine said slowly. But why? We believe the plan was more sophisticated than simple bribery, Agent Reyes explained, showing a slide of complex financial structures. She was planning to expose the liabilities immediately after you had signed the contracts. Marcus's face went white. A controlled demolition. She wanted Sterling Ventures to fail. The financial models we've reconstructed suggest that Alara Vance and her partners stood to make over $15 billion by short-selling Sterling Ventures stock immediately before publicly revealing the hidden liabilities, Agent Reyes said. The merger would have destroyed your company, but it would have made her the wealthiest woman in America. The full scope of Alara's monstrous betrayal settled over them. We found this in Victor Jensen's files, Agent Reyes continued, showing Jasmine's original employment application, heavily annotated with circles around her address in Queens and her son's school. They were watching me, Jasmine whispered, horrified. Alara Vance was monitoring your employment specifically to ensure you wouldn't interfere, Agent Reyes confirmed. When you took the catering job at Le Fleur, they must have panicked. She clicked to the final slide, showing a text exchange on the morning of the restaurant meeting. Jensen. Parker is working the lunch service today. She'll see the contracts. Vance. Handle it. Make sure she stays quiet. Jensen. How? Vance. I don't care. Use her kid if necessary. Jasmine felt the world spin. Leo. They were going to threaten her son. Marcus's jaw clenched. Over my dead body. We need to discuss immediate security arrangements for both of you, Agent Reyes said, her expression serious. Alara Vance is still at large, and she now knows you're cooperating. She has demonstrated a chilling willingness to target civilians, including children. We have to assume she is extremely dangerous. A secure, undisclosed safe house for Ms. Hayes and her son, Agent Reyes explained. Personal protection for both of you. This has moved far beyond white-collar crime. Jasmine felt tears rise. I can't uproot Leo from his school, his friends, his entire life, because I got involved in this investigation. You didn't get involved, Marcus said firmly. You were targeted specifically because of your integrity. The job termination, the destroyed references, the years of restaurant work, it was all part of Alara's calculated plan to neutralize you as a threat. I'm going to destroy her, Jasmine said quietly, her voice steel. We're going to destroy her, Marcus corrected. Together. After Agent Reyes left, Marcus looked at Jasmine. I'm sorry. For not seeing it sooner. For being the kind of person who made her think she could use people like disposable objects. Alara Vance's choices are her own responsibility, Jasmine said. But you created the environment where someone like her could thrive. Then build a different kind of company, Marcus. Use what you've learned to create something better. I want you to help me, Marcus said. Not just with the investigation, but with rebuilding Sterling Ventures into something worth being proud of. Before Jasmine could respond, her phone buzzed with a text message. The number was blocked, but the message was clear. Stop cooperating with the investigation, or Leo learns what happens to children whose mothers don't know when to stay quiet. The phone slipped from Jasmine's trembling hands. Marcus read the message over her shoulder, his face hardening with protective fury. She's escalating, he said. Alara is running out of options. Good, Jasmine said quietly, a determined light in her eyes. Desperate people make mistakes, and when Alara Vance makes her next mistake, we'll be ready. The safe house in Westchester looked like any ordinary suburban home, but inside, federal agents monitored screens. Leo Hayes sat at the kitchen table working on his math homework. "Mr. Sterling," Leo asked, looking up, "do you know long division?" Marcus, who was working on his laptop, set it aside. "I do. Would you like me to show you a trick that might make it easier?" For the next 30 minutes, Marcus found himself teaching math to Leo. Leo's natural curiosity reminded Marcus of his own lost childhood. "You're really good at explaining things," Leo said when they finished. "Do you have kids?" "No, I don't," Marcus said honestly. "I was always too focused on work to think about a family." "That's sad," Leo said simply. "Work is important, but family is more important, right, Mom?" "Right, baby," Jasmine smiled. "Family is always the most important thing." Marcus felt something profound shift in his chest. Watching them, he saw a different definition of success, one measured in love and trust. That evening after Leo was asleep, Jasmine and Marcus sat alone. "What was your childhood like before the money?" Jasmine asked quietly. "Who were you before you became someone who could casually dismiss people as worthless?" Marcus's voice carried a new vulnerability. "I grew up in a trailer park outside Atlanta. My mother cleaned houses. I was ashamed. I swore I would never be poor again, never be invisible, never be dismissed as unworthy." "So you became one of them," Jasmine said gently. "I became worse than them," Marcus admitted. "I earned mine through pure ruthlessness, and I forgot where I came from. I forgot what it felt like to be looked right through." "Is that why you treated me so badly at the restaurant? Because I reminded you of who you used to be?" "I think so," Marcus admitted. "Seeing you in that uniform, serving people who didn't even acknowledge your humanity, it terrified me because I realized I'd become exactly the kind of person I used to hate." "You don't have to stay that person, Marcus," Jasmine said. "People can change. The man who humiliated me 3 weeks ago wouldn't be sitting here teaching my son math problems." "Maybe I'm just trying to impress you," Marcus said, revealing more truth than intended. "Why would you want to impress me?" "Because," Marcus said quietly, "you're the strongest person I've ever met. Because you raised an incredible son while fighting battles I can't even imagine. Because you chose to warn me about those contracts even after I treated you cruelly." He paused, searching for courage. "Because I'm falling in love with you." Jasmine felt her breath catch. "Marcus," she whispered, "I know it's complicated," he continued quickly, "but I also know that 3 weeks ago, you changed my life. You made me remember what it means to be human." "You changed mine too," Jasmine said, tears in her eyes. "You reminded me that I'm worth more than I'd been settling for, that maybe, just maybe, I deserve someone who sees me as more than a function to be performed." Marcus moved to sit beside her. "You deserve everything good in this world, Jasmine Hayes. You deserve respect and love, and a partner who celebrates your immense strength." "Is that what you want to be?" she asked softly. "My partner. In every way you'll let me," Marcus said, his voice barely above a whisper. Jasmine reached up and touched his face. "I'm scared of me. Of this. Of trusting someone with my heart when Leo's well-being depends on my good judgment." "Someone like you," Marcus said, covering her hand with his, "is exactly who I want to love. Someone who makes me want to be worthy of her faith in my better nature." He leaned forward and kissed her gently. It was a kiss full of tenderness and promise. "What happens when this investigation is over?" Jasmine asked when they broke apart. "Then we choose each other anyway," Marcus said simply. "Because what we've found together is worth fighting for." The next morning, the safe house was violently plunged into darkness. Agent Maria Reyes shouted over the communication system, "Power failure! All units to stations! This is not a drill!" Thick, acrid gray smoke began seeping under the front door. A chemical attack. "Gas masks! Now!" Agent Reyes shouted. "Evacuate through the back exit." "The back door is blocked," an agent shouted. Unknown number of hostiles in body armor. They stumbled through the house toward the reinforced safe room in the basement. The air filtration system immediately engaged, but they knew its limitations. The safe room door sealed shut. "Base, this is Safe House Alpha," Agent Reyes called into the radio. "We are under coordinated assault. Request immediate backup." The radio crackled with static, then a familiar voice cut through. Alara Vance's voice was electronically distorted. Hello, Marcus. Hello, Jasmine. I hope you're comfortable in your little bunker. You are committing multiple federal felonies. Surrender immediately, Agent Reyes ordered. Alara's altered laugh echoed. Surrender isn't part of my plan today. Let them go. Alara, Marcus said, taking the radio. Leo is just a child. You cost me $15 billion, Jasmine. Alara's voice was cold. You destroyed 8 years of careful planning, so now you get to watch your son pay the price. The radio went silent. She's jamming our signals, Agent Reyes said grimly. The air filtration system is powered by the main electrical grid. If they cut power to the entire neighborhood. The emergency lighting flickered. Leo whimpered against his mother's chest. This is my fault, Marcus said, his voice hollow. I created Alara Vance, and now Leo is paying for my blindness. Don't, Jasmine said sharply. Alara Vance chose to steal money, chose to threaten children. That's on her, not you. Leo pulled off his gas mask. Are we going to die? No, Marcus said firmly, kneeling to his level. We are not going to die. Your mother and I won't let anything happen to you. I promise. Alara's distorted voice filled the bunker again. I'm going to give you a choice, Marcus. You can stay in your little bunker and watch it become Leo's tomb when the air filtration system fails in approximately 20 minutes. Or you can come outside alone, and we can settle this properly. It's a trap, Agent Reyes warned. Marcus was already moving toward the bunker door. I won't let Leo suffocate because Alara Vance wants revenge against me. Marcus, no! Jasmine grabbed his arm. You can't trust her. If I stay here and Leo dies because our air ran out, I'll never forgive myself, Marcus said. Leo looked at him. Mr. Sterling, if you go out there, will the bad lady leave my mom alone? That's the idea, buddy, Marcus said gently. Alara Vance is angry at me. If I face her, she might leave you both alone. But what if she hurts you? Then you take care of your mom for me, okay? Marcus said, his throat tight. You keep being brave and smart and kind, and you remember that someone loved you both enough to try. Jasmine was crying. Marcus, please, there has to be another way. Marcus kissed her gently. Loving you and Leo has been the most important thing I've ever done. Then Marcus Sterling opened the bunker door and walked out. The door sealed behind him. The air was toxic outside, filled with the smell of chemicals. Marcus Sterling stepped through the wreckage. Alara Vance stood waiting, flanked by 6 men in tactical gear. She held an assault rifle. Hello, Marcus, Alara said, her voice now clear and cold. You look older. Let them go. Alara, Marcus said quietly. Leo is 10 years old. He doesn't deserve to pay for this. I deserved recognition for building Sterling Ventures alongside you, Alara raged. Instead, I gotta watch you take all the credit. You're right, Marcus admitted. I benefited from a system that was rigged, and I perpetuated it. But terrorizing innocent people won't fix anything. You're right about all of it, he said quietly. I was a monster who justified everything in the name of success. But Jasmine and Leo aren't responsible for the man I used to be. They're responsible for the man you're pretending to be now, Alara countered. The reformed billionaire. It's all performance. Marcus thought of Leo and Jasmine. Now I know the difference between success and worth. I know that a 10-year-old boy's respect matters more than a board of directors' approval. I know that loving someone means protecting them even when it costs everything. You think love can transform someone like you? Alara asked, a strange mix of admiration and disgust in her voice. I don't know if I'm worthy, Marcus admitted, but I know they are. If dying means they get to live, then it's the first truly worthwhile thing I'll have done with my life. Alara's radio crackled. Backup FBI units were approaching the perimeter. Choose Marcus, Alara said, raising her weapon. Walk away from everything and let them live, or die right here and hope I'm feeling merciful. There's a third option, Marcus said, buying time. You take me instead. Kill me right here, right now, and let them go. You get your revenge, and they get to live their lives. Inside the bunker, the air was dangerously thin. Agent Reyes worked frantically on the radio. Jasmine, realizing Marcus's plan, pressed her ear to the vent. When she heard him offer to die for them, she knew she couldn't stay hidden. Agent Reyes, is there any way to get out of this bunker? Jasmine asked urgently. The walls are reinforced concrete. We're sealed in until... Jasmine wasn't listening. She found a narrow maintenance shaft behind the water heater. Leo, I need you to stay here with Agent Reyes, she said quietly. Can you do that for me? I'm going to try to help Mr. Sterling. Leo looked at her, his eyes old with wisdom. Be careful, Mom. I need you both to come back. Jasmine crawled through the dark, narrow shaft. Outside, Ilara was deeply conflicted by Marcus's sacrifice. If you'd shown me half the respect you've shown her, none of this would have happened. You're right, Marcus admitted. I failed you as a partner. I'm sorry. Detective Chen appeared at the tree line with armed agents. Ilara Vance, you're surrounded. Surrender peacefully. I have enough explosives to level this entire block, Ilara shouted. One signal from me, and everyone dies. Suddenly, Jasmine Hayes emerged from behind the house, dirty and disheveled. She was carrying something that made Ilara's blood run cold. A dead man's switch connected to a small, improvised explosive device. Hello, Ilara, Jasmine said calmly, walking slowly toward the center of the standoff. I believe you and I need to have a conversation. Where did you get that? Ilara demanded. Your explosives expert wasn't careful, Jasmine said, still approaching. I'm calling your bluff. You're not a terrorist. You're a businesswoman who's been backed into a corner and is making emotional decisions. You think you can psychoanalyze me into surrender? I think I can offer you something better than revenge, justice, Jasmine said simply. We're both women who were undermined by men who took credit for our work. We both got punished for our principles. Ilara's weapon wavered slightly. I got smart. I learned to game the system for my own benefit. And how did that work out for you? Jasmine asked gently. You're standing here with a rifle, planning to murder innocent people. Is this the justice you wanted? Leo walked slowly out of the house and onto the lawn, his small frame commanding attention. Ms. Ilara, he called out, stopping beside his mother. I know you're angry at Mr. Sterling, but my mom never hurt you and I never hurt you either. So why do you want to hurt us? Ilara stared at the child, seeing him for the first time, not as collateral damage, but as a 10-year-old boy. I'm not a bad person, Ilara whispered, her voice breaking. I know, Leo said simply. Bad people don't feel guilty about hurting others. You feel guilty, don't you? That's why you're angry, because you know this isn't who you want it to be. Ilara's composure shattered. The rifle fell from her hands as she collapsed to her knees, sobbing. I lost myself, she whispered. Somewhere along the way, I became someone I don't recognize. It's not too late, Jasmine said gently. You can still choose who you want to be. I'm sorry, Ilara sobbed, looking up at Leo. You shouldn't have had to be braver than the adults. Leo nodded. I forgive you, Miss Ilara. My mom says forgiveness doesn't mean what you did was okay. It just means we don't want anger to make us into people we don't like. As federal agents moved to take Ilara into custody, she looked at Marcus. I really did help build Sterling Ventures, you know. I know, Marcus said sincerely, and I should have acknowledged that years ago. I failed you as a partner. I'm sorry. Ilara nodded. Maybe we both forgot what really matters. 3 months later, the new headquarters of Sterling Ventures occupied a renovated warehouse in Brooklyn. Jasmine Hayes, Sterling was the chief operations officer, having restructured the company around transparency and employee ownership. Mom, Mr. Sterling, the reporter is here. Leo's voice carried down the hallway. Marcus Sterling appeared in Jasmine's doorway. Ready for the interview? As ready as anyone can be to explain how spilling wine led to a complete corporate restructuring, Jasmine replied, smiling. The Forbes reporter was interviewing them about the company's new ethical policies. So, Mr. Sterling, the reporter asked, critics suggest your company's new policies are more about public relations than genuine change. Marcus looked at Jasmine, then at Leo, who was coloring quietly. 3 years ago, I measured success by stock price. Today, I measure it by whether my employees can afford to send their children to college and whether Leo still thinks I'm worthy of being called Dad. And Mrs. Sterling, the reporter turned to Jasmine. You've gone from serving wine to running operations at a billion-dollar company. Some might say that's quite a leap. The skills are more similar than you might think, Jasmine replied. Both jobs require attention to detail, the ability to read people, and the knowledge that every person deserves to be treated with dignity. The difference is that now I'm in a position to ensure that dignity is built into company policy. Leo looked up. I think grown-ups make things too complicated, he said. My mom and dad learned that people are more important than money, and that if you take care of people, they'll take care of your business. It's not that hard to understand. The reporter laughed. As the interview concluded, she asked one final question. What happened to Ilara Vance? Ilara received a 7-year sentence, Marcus said. But she's been a model prisoner. She's leading a program to help other white-collar criminals transition back into society. We correspond occasionally. She's finding ways to matter that don't involve hurting people. Any regrets about how everything turned out? The reporter asked Jasmine. I regret that it took a crisis to bring out the best in all of us, Jasmine replied. But I've learned that the most beautiful flowers often grow in the most unlikely soil. And the most important lessons come from the most unexpected teachers, Marcus added, smiling at his wife. That evening, after Leo was asleep, Marcus and Jasmine sat on their back porch. Do you ever think about that day at Le Fleur? Marcus asked. Which part? Jasmine teased. The humiliation, the wine spill, or the moment I realized I was falling in love with a man who just treated me terribly? I was a monster. You were scared, Jasmine corrected gently. Fear makes people cruel, Marcus. Love makes them brave. And which are we now? Jasmine leaned into his embrace. We're brave. We chose love over fear, growth over stagnation, grace over revenge. We chose to believe that people can change. Marcus pressed a kiss to her temple. Think Leo will approve when he finds out about the baby? Jasmine smiled, her hand moving instinctively to her still flat stomach. I think he'll be thrilled to be a big brother. He's been practicing his patience on all of us. The story of the spilled wine and the warning had begun with a moment of humiliation, but it ended with a new foundation built on respect, honesty, and an unbreakable belief in the power of human dignity.